What's going on, everyone? So some interesting news just happened where the Houston Rockets have waived Jock Lindell. Right, he had a non-guaranteed. Now, the reason that this is interesting is because there was a lot of kind of word going around that the Lakers might end up being a part of that 7-team massive trade, and that they might have gotten Cam Whitmore in that deal. And the thought process was, okay, they get Cam Whitmore and they'd get Jock Lindell. But some of the kind of reports that are going around, again, all this stuff is speculation until it's actually finalized. But some of the reports that are going around right now don't really mention Jock Lindell, just Cam Whitmore to the Lakers, right? Now, the reason that this still might happen, for those that are thinking like, oh, like it's not going to, like, no. So Houston, even after waiving Jock Lindell, are still $2 million over the cap. Right? They need to be under that first apron because they're hard kept there through the Dorian Finney-Smith signing, and then as well as the Clint Capella sign and trade. So they have no choice. They have to clear $2 million off their books. So the thought is that the Lakers will end up landing Cam Whitmore as part of this trade, and how that goes about, we'll see, right? Lakers do have a couple trade exceptions, but Lakers also need to stay under the apron themselves. Lakers are like 5 and some change under the apron. So they could maybe work something like that where they end up kind of absorbing a Cam Whitmore. With this expanded potential 7 trade, my guess is that this is where the Lakers will benefit and end up landing like a Nick Richards and a Cam Whitmore. Because my guess, again, this just, all of this is just, again, speculation and guess, right? But Houston needs to get off of Cam Whitmore, right? Lakers will probably end up taking Cam Whitmore as part of like, a sign and trade with the Lakers. And then the Lakers will probably end up landing a, somebody like a Nick Richards. There we go. And then now they end up with a Nick Richards and a Cam Whitmore, and then somebody like a Gabe Vincent, or maybe like a Shake Milton, and somebody goes to another team and then they end up waiving that guy, right? And then there will be all kinds of assets and stuff like that. Problem is, it's like a 7-teamer, so it's going to be very complicated if all this stuff plays its part. But you got to imagine that they're going to solve this issue one way or another through this big, massive trade. Houston, that is. So my guess, again, I want to be clear, it's just a guess, right, is that the Lakers will land at least Cam Whitmore. Right, because again, they could work some out where they trade exception, take them in. I believe they can take them in on the biannual, so maybe they'll do something like that. But then you also need to get a center, a backup center, right? So, point is, Lakers would need to. They'd have to get crafty and creative in order to essentially absorb Cam Whitmore, unless they end up making some other moves and some other trades. Now, again, the Lakers could waive Shake Milton, so they could take Cam Whitmore, waive Shake Milton, maybe even Shake Milton's going out. But like Houston, their part of this will be, essentially probably a Dorian Finney-Smith sign and trade as well. So what they'll probably do is take on both guys, and then some of the salary or whatever, right? They'll structure it through the mid-level exception or whatever, right? So that is my guess. It's probably going to be pretty complicated. But Cam Whitmore. Right. The question is, like, what is his contract look like? How much is he making? Can the Lakers even pull something like that off? Luckily, he is making, pennies compared to what some in the league. He's making $3.5 million. So call it $4 million. Right. So the Lakers should be able to easily kind of navigate that. And with so many teams on board, again, they have, luckily the Lakers have Shake Milton as an expiring, or as a non-guaranteed. Correction, not expiring. Non-guaranteed, right? So Lakers would send out Shake Milton, my guess, again, this is all just guess, send out Shake Milton to somebody that is taking him on. Maybe it's like Houston or something like that, or not Houston, Atlanta. There we go, Atlanta or somebody like that, and then they just kind of waive him, right? And then he becomes a free agent because it's non-guaranteed money. So they could take him on board, be a part of it. There's teams. The problem is, it's all just like speculation. There's all kinds of different, because like if you listen to like Warriors people or Atlanta's people or whatever, like they all have like their different takes on what is going to happen. So again, I want to be clear, like nobody knows what is going to happen yet, especially with 7 teams in the mix, right? There's so many moving parts. Right? Brett Siegel said that it might just be straight up, just like picks and like a bunch of separate trades all kind of lumped together. I don't know, right? Because again, Houston has to get under the apron, so they have to do something. Could they do it in a separate trade that's not involved in the 7-teamer? Sure, but why wouldn't they do it in the mix of this? Not even to the Lakers. I think that they're going to send Cam Whitmore out somewhere, but to send Cam Whitmore to any other team, you're not going to get anything back, right? At least you could do it and justify it for the Dorian Finney-Smith trade rather than just losing Cam for nothing, right? Maybe, Lakers throw in a pick swap or something like that to end up getting it done because you're getting Cam Whitmore for nothing, right? Like that is something that could end up happening. Or maybe, the pick swap is going to Atlanta in order to take on Shake Milton so that way you can bring in Cam Whitmore, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of moving parts. And again, trades are hard enough as is in just a singular trade. Like you and me are making a trade. You start adding 3 teams, 4 teams, 5, and all the way up to 7 teams. Yes, some of this might just be straightforward, but I think some of this is going to be a little kind of convoluted. I think some of these things are going to be a little all over the place. But again, we'll see. Right? Jock Lindell, they had to waive Jock Lindell because Jock Lindell's salary became fully guaranteed on the 7th. So they have to waive him before the 7th. Right? And they need to get under. They need to try to clear as much as possible. So now they need to clear their $2 million over. So that means you have to clear $2 million just to get under. It makes sense that it would be Cam Whitmore because Cam Whitmore, like I mentioned, is making $4 million. So you can clear the $2 million plus have an extra gap of $2 million or whatever. And then that way, when you get to, the buyout market or something like that, you can kind of wait, be patient, maybe get a guy to kind of add to the back end of the roster or something like that, if need be, right? We'll see how many players when all is said and done Houston has on the roster. We'll see how many, moves and players that go in and out and all that stuff. But I do think that this is kind of the signal that matches up with some of the reporting that like the Lakers wouldn't get, because originally it was Dorian Finney-Smith for Jock Lindell and Cam Whitmore, right? That would be the sign and trade because Houston could take on $15 million in salary by doing that move at that time. This was before Clint Capella, this was before all of that. Then they made the Clint Capella trade and it was like, oh, they can't pay Clint Capella, so they're gonna have to work something out. So then they did the sign and trade with them through a second, but they're still over the cap. And again, they're hard capped. It's not like, oh, hey, you're only $2 million over. Don't worry about it. No, you can't be 1 cent over the hard cap, right? So they have to figure something out. So now you're hearing the reports that no, what'll happen is the Lakers will get Cam Whitmore and like a sign and trade with Dorian Finney-Smith, and then however they fudge the numbers is how they fudge the numbers to make it work, right? So Lakers, instead of getting Jock Lindell and Cam Whitmore, which Cam Whitmore is the prize. That's the guy you want. But I did kind of want Jock Lindell because 1, again, clear some salary. 2, you could have maybe used him and Shake Milton, and that's like $11 million in non-guaranteed money. Plus, you throw in like a Dalton Connect or something like that, or add another player. Maybe you could have went and got, a $20 million guy or something like that and been like, hey, yeah, we're not giving you the farm, but you can clear 11 million, almost 12 million off your books immediately, right? Or I think it's 11 million on that because I think Shake's exactly 3 and I think Lindell's exactly 8. So could have done something like that to where, you ended up trading another piece. But look, if the Lakers just end up with Cam Whitmore out of this, like if that's all that ends up happening, I am more than happy with that. If you told me because think about it, Lakers already filled in Dorian Finney-Smith, right? So like Lakers lost Dorian Finney-Smith or let Dorian Finney-Smith go. I don't think they really lost him. I think they let him go. And it freed up the full mid-level exception, which allowed them to get Ayton and Jake LaRavia, right? So, Ayton alone, I would have, if you told me right now, Tyler, who would you rather have, Ayton or Dorian Finney-Smith? As much as I like Dorian Finney-Smith, I would take Ayton because Ayton's upside is better. He's younger and he solves a bigger need right now. Like Lakers, worst case scenario, they have multiple wings and multiple players that they can get through the season with, right? And be patient and wait for that right trade. But they don't have a center. Right? So, of course, I would take DeAndre Ayton. So they get DeAndre Ayton and Jake LaRavia in place of a Dorian Finney-Smith. That alone is a good kind of trade, right? If you get Cam Whitmore too, Dorian Finney-Smith is the gift that keeps on giving, right? Because you're telling me the Lakers, essentially, if you trace it back to the trade, they give up 3 seconds, D'Angelo Russell, and Maxwell Lewis, right? I would trade that alone for just DeAndre Ayton, if I could, right? And then you're getting Jake LaRavia, who's a 23-year-old 3-and-D type of wing, 6'8", play out of the forward spot, potentially like a Rui replacement. And then you also get Cam Whitmore, who's a hyper-athletic, versatile 3-and-D, exactly what, I mean, Cam Whitmore could start for the Lakers this season, and it would make sense. I mean, his ability to score, and he has a world of potential. This is a guy that has star potential. I'm not saying he'll ever live up to it or he'll become it, but he has it. It's there, right? This is a guy that was projected to be a top 10 pick at worst in his draft, but then, injuries and kind of questions, personal questions about like his character and stuff like that, all that kind of came to light, and then it was like, boom, he just kept dropping. And then people thought they were still going to, like, oh, he's not going to drop far, and he just kind of fell into Houston's lap. But we'll see. Again, this is very interesting, but let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. See you all in the next one. Thank you.